Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves back into the dungeon within the popular deck building adventure game Clank. This expansion, titled Expeditions Gold and Silk, is a series of boards to continue your deck building adventures. The first expedition begins in a mine abandoned by the ruined Dwarven mining company known as the Ruin DMC, when it became infested with monsters, but it still holds plenty of fold for those daring enough to enter. But more wealth awaits in the Spider Queen's lair. Surely the Spider Queen herself is just a legend meant to scare people away from such a fancy castle. Now this expansion plays 2 to 4 players, and you need the base game of Clank in order to play. Today we'll be doing a rule school. Well, I'll teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. Now I've placed timestamps below me in the description of this video just in case you want to jump to any specific spots of the rules. Well, without further ado, let's get started. Clank Expedition Gold and Silk brings a double-sided board for new adventures. On the Dwarven mine, you'll be able to spend skill in order to get a certain amount of gold, but no one else can get that. Whoever has mined the most gold will get the biggest rewards at the end of the game. And there's also new miner pawns that you can use instead of the base game ones. And there's now elevator shafts where you have to pay a coin to use it in either direction. On the other side of the board is the Spider Queen's Lair, where you can use a new spider figure instead of the dragon. There's also a new spider artifact worth 8 points, and now when going through rooms, you have to use an additional sword or boot in order to make it through here, but these are worth points at the end of the game. And if you spend 8 skill, you can get some of the great treasures that the queen had stashed away. Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk brings you 2 new adventures with different board layouts, new mechanisms, and more replayability. Now this is an expansion, so all the setup rules and the play rules are the same as the base game unless otherwise noted. It comes with 2 different sides of the board. We're first going to go over the Dwarven mine side. On the top right side of the board, you'll see these places where you can place mining bonus tokens. So you're going to take those 3 mining bonus tokens and put the corresponding ones with the right values onto the spots that have those values. So the 20 goes here, 10 goes here, and the 5 goes here. There's also new miner pawns that you can use in replace of the base game's pawns. And there's a market tile that comes in this expansion which you can use to place all of the different market items on. And again, the market's used just like in the base game. When you go to any one of these market shops, that's where you can buy those items for 7 coins, just like the base game. Now while playing, you'll come across these spots that look like this. These are called veins of gold. And if you're in a spot that touches one of these, this vein of gold touches both of these. So both of these players are actually in rooms that touches this vein of gold. Well, this one's sort of all alone there. On your turn, let's assume it's the red player's turn, you can spend 2 skill to mine the gold there. Now it does not matter what number is here, it's always 2 skill. So if it's the red player's turn and they want to mine this gold, they would spend the 2 skill and they would get this much gold, 3. So they would take 3 of the normal gold pieces from the supply, they would add it to their own stash, and then they would place their own Clank cube color here because once this has been mined for gold, no one else can do so. Now once you mine for gold, you cannot use boots for the rest of this turn, but you can teleport if you have effects that allow you to do so. At the end of the game, mining bonuses will be given to the players that have mined the most gold. So whoever has the most cubes on those veins of gold will get the 20, second most 10, and third most 5. And you need to have mined at least 1 gold in order to be eligible to participate in any of the mining bonuses. You also need to be alive and get a score in order to do so. Meaning, if you died in the depths of here and you got a 0 score, you're not eligible to get one of these mining gold bonuses. If there is ever a tie, whoever mined the furthest one down into the depths will get it. For example, if both the red and blue players were tied and they both got a score, you would look at whoever was further down to the bottom, and it was the red player, so that one would get the one that they were tied for, and the other player would get the next lowest one, assuming they weren't tied with anybody else. Because if they were, you'd do the same tiebreaker. On the upper left-hand side of the board, you'll see 2 long shafts with a number 1 there. These are 2 elevators that you can take in either direction, from here to here or from here to here. And every time you do that, it costs you 1 gold as denoted there. You pay it to the supply. This side of the board is the Spider Queen's Lair. And for added ambience, instead of using the dragon marker, you can actually use the spider marker instead. Now when setting up the artifacts, do it just like the base game, but before you do so, remove the 7-point artifact and put in the 8-point artifact, and then set up the artifacts as normal. If this artifact is being used, it will go in the middle spot with the corresponding 8 spot there. Next, locate all these web tokens. You're going to place them all face down, which looks just like this. This is actually face down. You'll shuffle them all up, and then you'll begin to put them on the board, keeping this orientation. And by orientation, I mean keeping it face down, but then placing it on the spider web spots, one for each spot that you see just like this, and you use it so that all of them are placed on the board in the respective spots. Now what this means is that if you are on a spot and you want to go through a corridor that has one of these, you have to spend either an additional boot or a sword, or you can't go that way. If you do spend one of those, you take this and you put it face down in front of you. You can look at them but keep them secret. Now if other players later on want to go from here to here, they do not have to spend anything extra. At the end of the game, each player is going to reveal them to everybody else, and that player is going to get all the points that are on those. There are also webbed rooms, and they have webs literally all around the rooms. Now those webbed rooms you can move into without doing anything additional, but if you want to get the reward that's there, sometimes it's coins, sometimes it's the idol monkeys, sometimes it's major or minor secrets. In order to get that reward, you must spend a sword to cut it loose. So if I had a sword to spend, and I go here, I could spend it and then get that 3 gold. However, if you have no sword or you choose not to spend one, you must exit and re-enter it and use a sword on that turn in order to get the reward that's in that webbed room. In the upper right side of the board, there is the Queen's Web Cache. These are essentially 8 treasures that the Spider Queen has collected. Now during your turn, you can spend 8 skill, as denoted on the board, or like cards like this, to essentially get one of these treasures. And when you do so, you place your colored cube over the one that you've collected. In this case, it would just be 5 coins. Some of these are coins and boots. Some of them is coins and hearts and health. Now the hearts have to be used immediately, and the boots and swords have to be used on that turn. Now some of them actually get you some coins or health and a secret tome, which is essentially those cards that are worth 7 points in the end, and you gain it and put it in your discard pile just as you got it normally. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Clank Expeditions Gold and Silk and get to the fun quicker than you normally would if you had to read the rulebook yourself. Now, if you have further questions, I've placed a link below me in the description of this video. That's the best place to ask it, because not only will I be notified, but so will Renegade Game Studios. This has been the Game Boy Geek, helping you find and enjoy the next board game you'll love.